Oh no, I just wrote on my shirt. Can't be trusted with pins. Hello boys and squirrels, happy Friday and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be giving you my best kept thrifting secrets. I don't know why I haven't done a video like this before. For some reason I feel like I have, but I can't find one. So maybe I have, maybe I haven't. Who knows? But it doesn't matter because we're doing it anyways. I've got my thrift tips written down in my handy dandy notebook and we're gonna get started. Just to give you guys a little backstory in case you're new here, I have been a reseller since the end of 2017. I've been reselling for a while, which means I'm in a thrift store at least 2 or 3 times a week. And I've also been thrifting since I was a kid, so a lot of experience over here at the thrift store. It's basically my second home. So there's a little backstory. Nice to meet you. Welcome to this video. Let's get started. My first tip is to know which areas you should shop in. So I'm gonna break it down for you. Small towns, not wealthy, lots of old people is where you find all the vintage goodies. I sell primarily vintage, so my town is perfect for that. There's not a lot of money. It's mid to lower class. There's a lot of old people. That's why I only go to one Goodwill, because I find everything I need there. So then you've got your big cities that are wealthy, and that is where you're going to find higher end pieces, name brands. Now, don't count small towns out for name brands, because a lot of times small towns don't get enough donations at their thrift stores. With Goodwill, for example, sometimes other Goodwill locations will send their inventory to that location because that specific location doesn't get enough donations. So don't count small towns out for brands, but if you are looking for vintage specifically, definitely seek out thrift stores in smaller towns. Tip number 2 is to go often. Now, this can get out of hand very quickly. I used to be the type of person that would go to Goodwill every day because it's so close to my house, which turned into me impulse buying a lot, which turned into a death pile of things that I think are cool, but not cool enough for me to want to list or put in the effort to list it. So that's how you get a hoarding problem. I find that 2 to 3 times a week is sufficient. The more that you go to a certain thrift store, you start to figure out what days are best to go and also what times are best. So for me personally, I usually go on Tuesday and Wednesday. Sometimes I'll go on Friday, just depending, but Friday starts to get into the weekend, so it starts to get a little crowded. So I found that the sweet spot is Tuesday and Wednesday. I used to go early in the morning, but then I started realizing a lot of people have that the early bird gets the worm mentality, and in my case, later at night, like closer to closing, is the best time for me. They're still putting stuff out because they're trying to get the shelves filled so that when they open the next day, the shelves are already filled. So I have found a lot of really good stuff later in the evening, and after about 6:30 no one is there, like literally no one. So it's great for me. Tip number 3 is to go to the section that you are gravitating towards as soon as you get in the store. What I mean by this is, what section do you want to go in? That's going to set the tone for your shopping trip, whatever section that you go to first. So for me, my favorite sections are the home decor section and the dress section, because I know I'm going to find at least one good item in those sections. So I will go to either one of those first. I'll find a really cool piece, and then I'll be excited to go through the rest of the store and go through aisles that I don't necessarily love flipping through. So tip number 4 is to scan every item. One question that I get all the time is, how do you find such great home decor pieces? And that is because I go often and I'm not scared to dig for things. In order to find good home decor, sometimes you gotta get down on the floor, you've gotta get in the shelf, under the shelf. You've got to really get in there and look for it. I know I've told you guys this before, but do not be scared to treasure hunt. To me, that's the exciting part of thrifting. So I look behind things, I move things, I open baskets if they have a lid on them, I go through every single painting. Even if you've been down an aisle already, go down it again. You probably missed something. I go down each aisle in the home decor section probably 4 times, maybe 5. And everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I find the best stuff. So, I mean, is it crazy or is it genius? Same thing with clothing. I spend hours in the thrift store, but if you don't have that kind of time, maybe you resell part-time and you have, you know, kids or, you know, a full-time job, whatever it is, and you don't have time to scan through every item in a thrift store, I would suggest becoming very knowledgeable about different fabrics. Just become familiar with different fabrics, prints, colors that you like so that you can just scan. I can typically go through an aisle and I can just like scan the top, like where the shirt is like hung on the hanger. I just scan that and I look at fabrics and prints and colors, and I can pretty much tell if an item is vintage before I even pull it out. So the scan method is very good for saving time, but if you do have the time to flip through everything, flip through everything. Tip number 5 is to keep an eye out for new racks. Now, I have seen where some people have said that their Goodwills don't allow them to look at the new racks while the employee is putting the items out, and I guess that's like, you know, a safety thing. Maybe they've had like people get aggressive and like, because people really get aggressive with the new racks. They're running over there. They like follow them. I try, you know, to just be courteous and nice. I don't get in the employee's way. I'll wait till they've got a couple things in their hands and they're going to put something up, and then I'll just scan through the rack really quickly. And you can always just pull things off. Even if you're not sure, just pull it off and put it in your cart and look at it later. So that way you're not in the employee's way. Be kind and courteous, not only to the employees, but also to other people. Also, just a little bonus tip for you. If you come across an item that you like, but you're unsure about it, go ahead and put it in your cart, because there is nothing worse than leaving something on a shelf that you like, but you were unsure about. You decide that you really do like it, you go back to get it, and somebody's already taken it. So definitely just go ahead and put it in your cart. You can always put it back later. Tip number 6 is to check the racks by the dressing room. I have found some amazing pieces on that rack, because that is the rack where people have tried on the item. Maybe it didn't fit, maybe they didn't like the cut of it, whatever, and they put it there. So if it was good enough for somebody to take to the fitting room to try on, it may be good enough to resell. So that is a huge tip. Check those racks because they can be full of gold sometimes. Tip number 7 is to think outside of the box. So what I mean by this is check sections that you wouldn't normally check. You never know what you're gonna find in that section. People put stuff in weird places of the thrift store all the time. They decide they don't want something and they just leave it on a random shelf. Look through every section. Don't leave any stone left unturned. Again, I have found some gems in sections that item was not supposed to be in. I mean, just this past trip, I found that little wooden toy truck in the candle section. Somebody had just put it there, and if I hadn't looked at that section, I wouldn't have found that truck. Also, I don't know if everyone's thrift stores are like this, but all the thrift stores down here seem to have like a miscellaneous section where they just put stuff on like this section of shelves that they don't like know what to do with. They don't have a specific section to put these things in. Always check that section. I find some of the most random things in that section, but I also find really good things in that section too. So again, just don't leave any section unturned. Tip number 8 is to start shopping for the upcoming season very early. We talked about this in my spring and summer trends video. I always release those videos early so that you guys can go ahead and start shopping for spring and summer, because even though it's freezing outside in the fashion world, stores are already putting out spring stuff. You also need to start putting out spring and summer stuff, so you kind of have to work in like a retail mindset, like shop for spring in winter, shop for winter in spring. You see what I mean? So always shop off season, because that's when you're going to find the gold. Tip number 9 is to be picky. I am saying this as a reseller and also a thrifter who thrifts for my personal wardrobe. I have really tried lately to stop doing impulse buys and to get out of that mindset of, oh, it's only $1, it's only $2. And instead, I've been very picky. I've been very thorough with checking my garments for flaws. I have to be 100% sure, basically, to buy something. If there is a doubt in my mind, if I think for even like 5 minutes that it won't sell, or, you know, I have doubts about it, then I know that I'm not excited about it. I'm not going to list it. So I leave it behind. Now that may not work for other people. Maybe, you know, you don't have that luxury of like passing on things. You just don't find enough good stuff. And I understand that. But for me personally, I have started being very selective and very picky. I have definitely noticed that I am now more inspired and excited about listing items, as opposed to, oh, like I'm super excited about it in the store and then I get it home and I'm like, oh, I don't want to list this. Like I don't want to take the time to list it. So be picky, whatever picky means to you. And that leads me to tip number 10, which is to check things thoroughly. I mean, look at every inch of that garment. Look at the seams. Make sure that it's not coming apart at the seams. A lot of vintage items are coming apart literally at the seams. Check the zippers. Make sure the zipper works. I can't believe I'm saying this. I know it's gross, but check the crotch. Just trust me. Check the crotch. You would be surprised. That's all I'm gonna say. Tip number 11 is to try things on. I know a lot of resellers say don't try on your inventory because you'll end up wanting to keep it. I know in my case, I already know I want to keep something before I try it on. Trying something on has never made me be like, oh, I really want to keep this, unless it fits like incredibly, which is rare. And if that's the case, maybe I will keep it, and that's fine. But I always try things on because I model my items. If it's too small, obviously I can't, and I, will photograph that item on a hanger anyways. But if I am able to, I like to try items on because I do model pieces and I do want to kind of get a feel for what it looks like on a, on a human as opposed to on a hanger, because there have been some vintage pieces where I'm like, oh my God, this is beautiful. But then I try it on. I'm like, I don't know if this is flattering for anyone. I don't think this is going to look good on anyone. So I pass on it because I tried it on. Trying things on just gets me inspired to, give styling tips or to, photograph it in a certain way that I think will appeal to a lot of customers. So I personally have found that trying items on has helped. But that's just my opinion. Editing Christina here. I just wanted to mention quickly that trying items on has also helped me find flaws that I may have missed. There has been holes in an item or a rip in an item, especially with dresses and skirts, that I would have missed had I not tried the item on. So it's helpful for finding flaws as well. Tip number 12, and our final tip, is to be kind to the employees. Now, this is just a general statement. You should be kind to everyone. You should be kind to employees. You should be kind to shoppers. But what I mean by be kind to employees, I have seen resellers in the thrift store who have been super rude to employees, and then they try to get a better deal. They try to get a discount or whatever. They're just giving these employees a hard time, basically. And of course, the employee is not going to give them any sort of discount or whatever they're asking for because they're giving them a hard time, I've become pretty close acquaintances with some of the employees in my Goodwill because I go so often, and they're super nice to me and they end up giving me discounts. I don't ever ask for discounts. So here's an example. This is a true story, by the way. The lady in front of me has a cart full of shoes. All shoes at my Goodwill are $5.99. Kids' shoes, yes, are cheaper, but all adult shoes are $5.99. This is a person that comes in very often. The cashier sees this person in this Goodwill all the time, just like she sees me all the time. And this lady keeps asking her, how much is this pair of shoes? How much is this pair of shoes? Girl, you know how much they are. Basically, she's wheeling and dealing. She's out here trying to get a better deal on these shoes because she's buying all of them. It ain't gonna happen because the cashier is frustrated because you're giving her a hard time, And every time you're in the store, you're giving her a hard time, so she's not gonna help you out. You know what I'm saying? So then I get up there and she's like, oh, hey girl, how are you? Nice to see you. We chit chat. She brings up my stuff. Let's say I have an item that doesn't have a price on it. Instead of calling a manager like she probably would with the other lady, she just says, oh, 99 cents. You know what I mean? It's all gonna work out in the end better for everyone if you're just kind to your thrift store employees. That's my PSA of the day. Be kind to your thrift store employees. All right, and that wraps up all of my tips. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you guys have any thrifting tips or tricks, please leave them down below. I would love to hear from you. I always love learning from you guys. If you like this video, please be sure and give it a thumbs up on your way out. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join our family. We would love to have you. I put new videos out every Wednesday and Friday, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Bye, guys.